Sheriff, look forward to what you have to tell us.
Well, certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here today. My name's Clint Shrum. I'm the sheriff in Grundy County, Tennessee. I'm in my first term, third year. It's been a challenge, but we're making progress. And I'm particularly excited that rural law enforcement has been invited to participate in this. We think it's really important. Speaking of rural enforcement, I will tell you how rural we are in Grundy County, so you will know. We're about 50 miles west of Chattanooga, about 90 miles east of Nashville. We have a population of about 13,300 people in the entire county. Our median income is about $27,000. Our median age is about 28, and we have 361 square miles that we are responsible for covering. We have 14 miles of interstate, approximately 300 miles of rural roadway, and one of the engineering problems that we have is most of our rural roadway construction that is not a state highway is constructed or comprised of tar and chip material, which causes us some issue when it comes to crash and crash control. We're the home of the South Cumberland State Park. Even though we are rural, we are a heavily traveled county. That park encompasses about 25,000 acres. Last year they logged 44,831 visitors and about 672,000 vehicles going in at 10 state park entrances. So even though we're rural, a lot of traffic that comes into our county, especially in the spring and summer months. So a little bit about our agency, just so you will know what we are challenged with when it comes to rural traffic enforcement. I have 12 patrol deputies, 2 investigators. I have a court officer and a civil process officer who is the same person. I have 1 school resource officer for 8 schools, a jail administrator, a sergeant jail administrator. My chief deputy is with me. He's behind me. I have 2 administrative assistants, one that takes care of the jail, one that takes care of the sheriff's office, 20 correctional officers, and we just moved into a 114-bed detention center, and we are full this morning, and we moved into it 3 months ago. So it kind of tells you what's going on there. This is pretty simple, our chain of command, how we work. I'm broke down in 2 divisions. I'm broke down in the jail and patrol. You just don't get much more rural than that. So let's talk a little bit about trends and data in a rural area, in particular Grundy County, and some of the things that we're doing and we feel that are important to help us. If you look at these trends, you're seeing a trend of fatal crashes, injury crashes, and property damage crashes. And I run these from 2004. I've been in office since 14, so keep in mind that from 4 to 14 does not include what we have set in motion. But you can kind of see how our property damage crashes and injury crashes have kind of been off the chart a little bit. But you can see in 14 how we took a dip, and we're going to talk to you how we accomplished that and how we're keeping the track of that. While the fatal crashes look relatively low, when you live in a community of 13,000 people that has 8 zip codes in it, we're talking about cities that have 1,000 people in them. 1 traffic death is huge to that area, and so when you run 9, 10 traffic deaths in a year, that's just unheard of there. And so we had to do something to try to bring those traffic deaths under control. When you look at the DUI enforcement that we put in against those numbers, you can see that prior to 2014, there was never really a nexus of where enforcement efforts met the crash or injury crashes or the property damage crashes until 2014, 2015, where our DUI enforcement efforts actually surpassed our crash efforts with the exception of property damage crashes. And we're starting to see a downward trend in injury crashes. But because of what we've done in 14, we had a great residual effect in 15 with 0 traffic deaths in Grundy County. It's the first time it has ever happened in the county. So we know what we're doing is working. Unfortunately, we had 2 in 2016, but we have never gotten back up to the place that we were prior to that. And I knock on wood, no traffic deaths in Grundy County to date. and what we're doing is really working out well. Our daily vehicle miles traveled, it's depends on the seasons and what kind of seasons we have. Sometimes we're in the mountains, so sometimes winter can be pretty brutal. That cuts down on our traffic, and most of this is for the scenery. People come, we're an old county, so people come for the scenery, kind of come tour it. But you can see that we surpassed interstate traffic on our rural roads in Grundy County in 2016. And that presents a challenge to us. When you're strapped for manpower, you have to look at other innovative ways to drive down alcohol impaired fatalities and crashes. So let me tell you a little bit about how we've done that and some barriers and issues. First of all, one of the barriers is sustained funding versus initial funding. I say that to say this. When we first started in 14, we were receiving about $39,000 of highway traffic safety funding from our state highway safety office. That's been reduced to a little below 15,000, and that makes things tough. But we've still found ways to keep traffic crashes and fatalities down. When it comes to prosecutors, we have just recently switched prosecutors. What we see is some untrained prosecution going on, or some plea deals that don't necessarily need to work out. For instance, pleading a DUI charge down to a reckless driving happens frequently, and it's not a good thing that it happens. So we've kind of taken on the mindset of it's all or nothing for us when it comes to DUI prosecution. We don't want to plead those down. With our officers or our deputies, poor case preparation and testimony is something that we have to combat, that we take up on the administrative side, and that has been a little bit of an issue. Incentives versus traffic safety grants. I have to say this because I have a unique perspective on it. I spent 10 years with the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Prior to that, I spent 10 years as a patrol officer at the Winchester Police Department. What I know about incentives toward law enforcement is they work. It's a lot easier to get a sheriff's deputy or a police officer to do something enforcement wise when it comes to DUI enforcement by giving them a flashlight than it is giving a administrator a grant and going spend all of this money on overtime. Those guys are not worried about the overtime. They would rather have something with Velcro on it on their belt, and you can get more out of them. It's a proven fact. I spent 10 years doing that. We've seen a 33% reduction in fatal crashes in the area that I was responsible for. Unfortunately, incentive items are being cut out, and I think you can see that, especially in Tennessee, you can see a trend of crashes and alcohol impaired crashes going upward now as opposed to going back. Asset forfeiture is a little bit of a barrier for us with some of the legislative changes that they have made. In Tennessee, we do seize vehicles for alcohol or DUI, but now we cannot seize them unless they have had a second conviction. We can seize that now. We can also seize the vehicle if they're driving on revoked for DUI. The issue that we're facing now is this coming up in legislation, that if there's an error in paperwork when you submit that asset forfeiture request, then the agency could be responsible for paying those fees up to $3,000. That puts a strain on agencies that are rural because they can't afford $3,000 administrative fee. So what you're going to see happening is if that legislation gets passed, agencies that are rural and probably larger agencies are going to stop seizing those vehicles, which is a huge reason we've been able to, I guess, get a grip on impaired driving crashes and fatalities in our area. And then toxicology, those toxicology requests that we ask for, we are a blood-only agency. I don't use breathalyzers there. I'm not against them, but I just feel like that our prosecutors want blood results. The time that it takes to get those results back gets a little lengthy sometimes. With alcohol, it's not too bad. 4 to 6 weeks. If you get into drug impaired driving, you're looking at months to get that toxicology report back. So some of the strategies that we're using in Grundy County to help combat this, of course, legislatively, we have Amelia's Law in Tennessee now that requires people who are on probation or parole for impaired driving deaths to be monitored. We have an interlock ignition fund in the state. as well. We have mandatory sentencing, 48 hours for a first offense, 45 days for second offense. Third offense is 120 days. After that, DUI becomes a felony, and the court sentences them to their time. Uh, no good credit or no 2-for-1 on mandatory sentencing, so they have to serve those days. Of course, asset forfeiture, I spoke of that just a minute ago. We're dealing with some issues in legislation with that. Of course, tracking and trending data is really important to us. If you've been around traffic safety anytime, any length of time, you've heard of the DDAX model and concept. We use that at my agency, and we use it on a whiteboard. We just write down those areas, and those guys look at the patrol board. It does not have to be anything fancy. I attribute that concept to one of the reasons why we're having so much success in Grundy County. Of course, training is important to us. All of our guys are trained in standardized field sobriety testing. We just got all those trained in A-RIDE, and we're about to send, I'm a DRE instructor, and I'm just about to send my first deputy to DRE school. All of those relate to detecting the impaired driver. Of course, traffic enforcement is important to us. Just to kind of give you an idea of how far we have come, it's a little bit of a bragging point, but that's what police do. Uh, in 2014, up till September 1st of 2014, that entire agency had arrested 10 people for DUI. That's why those numbers were going up. Last year we were at 134. This year we will surpass 200, and enforcement efforts are a key to making sure that you control impaired driving, crashes, and fatalities. Media and social media, huge part of what we do. Social media particularly, we announce where we're going to be and what we're going to be doing. We want people to know that. We want them to stay home, and we want them to know if they come to where we're at and they're impaired, they're going to be going to jail. And if we can keep them home, then we keep the roadways safer. We feel like that's working pretty well for us. And then offender monitoring. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about offender monitoring and what we're doing there. In 2014, I took on a pilot project with monitors, ankle monitoring, continuous alcohol monitoring, and drug patches. And it has worked out very well for us. We have a general sessions judge who is on board. He makes it work for us. And the benefits of monitoring for us have far outweighed any of the contest that we have come up against. The company that we use uses the Shrum device. It's a pre-release monitoring that we do. Somebody's brought to jail. Before they can get out, if they're brought to jail for DUI, they have to wear a monitor. The judge mandates it. They cannot get out until they put on a monitor. If they pay their bond and they still can't get a monitor, they're still in jail. So that is per our judge. He is serious about getting this under control. And it's required by a condition of bond. The monitoring type is dependent on the charge. So, for example, if somebody's charged with DUI, they're going to get a continuous alcohol monitor, where if somebody is charged with drug impaired driving, they would get a drug patch monitor. So we're able to monitor both of those. And the offender pays for that unless they are declared indigent. Of course, Tennessee now has an indigent fund that they're paying for those out, which has worked out great for me. Because 40% of our population lives at or below the poverty level. And so when you have that percentage of your population at the poverty level, those numbers try to drive crime. And so that has been great for us, having the offender to pay for it. If the offender doesn't pay for it, I can tell you this. If the offender doesn't pay for it, they cannot be put back in jail for failure to pay. That becomes a civil issue. But they can't have a show cause put on them for any other violations. If they were monitored and they tested positive, we put a show cause order on them. The judge does, and they come to court at that point. But if it's a failure to pay, then the company petitions for either indigency or they have to take action against them civilly. Just to kind of give you an example of the benefit of this, you can see I've got it broke down 15, 16, and where we're at now with offenders. And you can see where we started out with alcohol monitors in 15 when this became an official program, and our drug patch, and you can see the compliance rate that we have had with those. and it's been phenomenal to be quite frank with you. With 16. With 15, we had 0 fatalities, but we had 100% compliance on alcohol monitors. But you can see the increase now from 15 to 16 of the number of people that went on alcohol monitors. And then, of course, 17, those numbers are going up, and we're at a 99.5% compliancy rate with offenders being monitored. And, of course, one of the residual benefits to this is that it saves me money by doing this. And so you can see how much money the county has saved and how many bed days. That's particularly interesting when you got a jail full of people who are serving DUI time and the jails are getting crowded. Then those numbers become particularly important to us when we're trying to combat the overcrowding problem. I had 15 people this weekend serving weekends for impaired driving. 15. That's huge for us. And you know, we're not in jail where we have thousands of people. When I have 15 inmates coming in on weekend, it's causing me problems. So we have to make sure that we have this in place. And then some opportunity and partnerships that we've been able to nurture. First of all, earned media is great. When you earn media, that means you're doing something that you hopefully should be doing. And community events, we have a county fair. We have all kinds of festivals through the year, and we participate in those. We make sure our presence is known. We try to educate people. School events are huge for us. We have traffic safety days, career days. They have driver's education, where we bring all the tools, the goggles, the seat belt condenser, and all those things to the high school, and we let those kids go through those. My chief teaches a driving school on at least one Thursday a month. And then I put contract reviews and renewals up there for opportunities, because those are oftentimes opportunities that we miss, simply for the fact is we don't look at language or what the product has the ability to do for us. And so we don't renew maybe the way that we should. And I'm speaking particularly about our monitoring program. That's a contracted program. They just recently took on a monitor that allows them to take a photo, as we was discussing. We did not have that in our contract, so when we reviewed that contract and renewed it, we added that device to our contract. So it gives us another tool to affect impaired driving, fatalities, and crashes. Of course, some more partnerships, local law enforcement, fire, and EMS. We've got pretty good partnerships with those folks. Our Highway Safety Office, which is the funding mechanism for us, we try to keep a great relationship with them. Our Tennessee Highway Patrol does a phenomenal job. Tennessee's a little bit unique with sobriety checkpoints because we have to announce them, and the Highway Patrol does the data for us so that we know where we need to be setting up these checkpoints. The Sheriffs and Chiefs Association, we have strong representation with our Tennessee Sheriffs Association, our Tennessee Chiefs Association, our community coalitions. We have a great community coalition that does everything that they can do to combat impaired driving. Most recently for us was the underage alcohol stings that we operated. That surprisingly enough produced very little, but that's a good thing for us. And then finally, I spoke this about our schools. We partner with them as well. And that's what we're doing in Grundy County, Tennessee, to combat these things.
Super. Well, we need to clone you, it sounds like. But before,